up and running. If you want to join us and follow along over on Twitter, you can do that. If you want to check out our YouTube channel, that's just if you just look up KARN News Radio, whatever on YouTube, you'll find it. Or just go to our website, and it's just newsradio1029.com, and hover over the listen live or on demand link there, and you'll see the little drop down button say KARN TV. So you can see my ugly mug on the screen there. So I want to ask this as we kick things off. There has been an interesting discussion that has been going on in my brain with the various inhabitants of it. Now, I'm not crazy, but I do oftentimes have conversations with myself. And sometimes they're a little weird. And I have recently been fascinated with mathematics. Now, I know that sounds super dorky and super nerdy and all that kind of stuff, but there's a guy that I follow on Twitter and various social media platforms. You've heard me talk about him before. His name is Eric Weinstein, and he is a mathematical physicist, or whatever his actual position is. But he's gotten me interested in mathematics. And so I went to MIT. So MIT's website they have a thing, they call it open courseware, where you can go take any sort of MIT classes online. They're not like your standard in-class kind of experience. You're not going to get a degree. They don't offer credit for them. But the course material and the knowledge is there and available for free. You don't have to register for anything. You can just go in there and check out the courses and learn the materials and learn the information. And so I was going to start looking at that, but I realized when I was in high school, the only math I ever really took was algebra. Like I did pre-algebra, and then I did algebra, and that was kind of the maximum level of mathematics that I studied. And so I'm having to kind of go back and take some high school level math courses that I found online. And I'm curious, and this is maybe a better topic for a Free Speech Friday, but kind of keep this in the back of your mind as we get into some of the discussions of the day. What is something that you have always wanted to learn or have become newly interested in? Like, what's the thing that you thought, oh, I always wanted to learn about that, but I never had the time, or I never had the patience or whatever. Or there's some new thing, whether it's something new like AI or blockchain technology and cryptocurrency or something like that. What's the thing that you always wanted to learn or have recently become interested in? So feel free to share that with us today as we get into the other topics of the day. As far as things that we actually need to talk about, things that are important and newsworthy and going on. Of course, last night, the huge turnout to hear Donald Trump and Elon Musk do an interview. I don't know that I would so much call it an interview as much as it was just kind of a general discussion, almost like a one-off podcast episode where they were just kind of sitting and chatting with each other. And so it was interesting for a short time. I'll be honest, I got bored with it quite quickly. I got bored listening to. So for one, I don't think Elon Musk did a very good job of kind of corralling the conversation and driving it forward in a useful or helpful direction. It just kind of became very rambling and very wandering or meandering as it continued on. And interestingly enough, Elon Musk did something that really kind of irritated me or frustrated me in the course of the interview, that I realized it was something that I do at times when I'm doing a radio show. As Donald Trump was talking, because I believe it was because they weren't in the same room. I believe Donald Trump was in Florida and Elon Musk was in Wyoming at his friend's ranch or something like that. And so they weren't in the same room. They weren't able to see each other. There was no video. It was just the audio. And as Donald Trump was, kind of rambling through and meandering along on the various answers and the various discussions that he was talking about, Elon Musk would regularly interject a short yeah or uh-huh or sure, and he would have these kind of short phrases and he would kind of continue to interject. And I know why he did it. I know, having been guilty of doing it myself on radio and during interviews, he did it as a way to kind of let Donald Trump know that he's still there, acknowledging that he has said something or acknowledging that he had made a statement or a point about something. And it's something, like I said, I'm guilty of. I've done it myself. And I realized last night as I was listening to Donald Trump and Elon Musk that I need to be much more careful about doing that myself when I do interviews, because I've done that. And even sometimes when you all call into the show, I will do that oftentimes. I shouldn't say oftentimes. I've gotten better with it. But in the past, I would, from time to time, do that with callers. So they kind of know that I'm still here, that I'm still listening and things like that. So it's that's a totally irrelevant discussion in the grand scheme of the interview. But I noticed that was a very, very prominent part of the discussion last night, and to the point where it became genuinely annoying to listen to and to hear Elon Musk do that. Now, Elon Musk is not a professional broadcaster. Elon Musk is not an interviewer or a journalist, and so it makes perfect sense that he would not be the polished interviewer, polished journalist that somebody like a Dan Rather, a Tom Brokaw, Walter Cronkite, some of the old legendary newsmen of the day, or Larry King, the Barbara Walters, the kind of the legendary interviewers of days gone by. So it was just something that I noticed, and is a little bit frustrating. So I would like to hear, though, from you what your thoughts on the interview were. Did you watch it? Did you spend time, kind of paying attention to it or listening in on it? I listened for, I don't know, I suppose about an hour and a half, and I was bored at about 45 minutes in and kind of forced myself to stick with it. And then later went back and watched some of the highlights of the rest of the interview. But I'd just like to hear your thoughts on it. What did you think of it? Was it a good showing for Trump? Was it a bad showing for Trump? Would you listen to a similar type of interview with Elon Musk and Kamala Harris? Or even J.D. Vance or Tim Walz, the VP candidates? Would you be willing to kind of sit through something like that? I don't know that I would. I'll be honest. I don't think I would, because it just didn't seem organized well. It didn't seem interesting. It didn't seem like it was moving in a particular direction. It felt like we were just kind of wandering around in the wilderness and oftentimes ended up back in the same place where we started and kind of talking in circles. And so I just was not all that fascinated by it. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's because I do talk radio and I do it in 15-minute segments, and I have to take breaks and things like that, whereas there was no opportunity to reset with this, right? It was just stream of consciousness discussion for, 2+ hours straight. So anyway, with all of that, we'll get to that and a whole lot more. We'll talk a little bit about, I brought this up last week, or maybe it was the week before. There was a study done by a UA Little Rock professor about religion and local congregations. And so I want to bring that up. Also, some audio from the Las Vegas Police Department suggesting that there was more to the story that was going on in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago when right prior to Joe Biden dropping out of the race. So we'll get into that and all of the other stuff that we got going on today as well. We will continue with the Schmidt Show next on News Radio 102.9 KARN.